It's an adventure behind the scenes. We've got lots to see, so come along with me for adventures behind the scenes. There's plenty to explore behind every door, and you can be quite sure it's an adventure behind the scenes. 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 An adventure behind the
How do these comics get into the paper every day? We get the paper every morning, and it's full of stuff that happened just yesterday and even just last night. How do they do that?
I know.
Hi, Megan. This is Catherine. I just had one of my great ideas. Could you call Charles and meet me at the newspaper?
Hi, how are you? I'm Peggy Durham. I work in newspaper and education here. Most papers have someone like me who helps students learn through the newspaper and helps teachers use the newspaper in their classrooms. Would you like a behind-the-scenes tour of our paper?
Sure.
Okay. Come on in. I'll take you to the publisher's office first.
Okay.
Now, this is the publisher's office. The publisher of a newspaper is kind of like the principal at your school or the president of a bank.
Oh, you mean he's the head honcho?
Well, you might say that. And here is our publisher, Mr. Dadisman. Meet Catherine and Megan, and you've already met Charles.
Well, hi, Catherine and Megan and Charles. Welcome to the Tallahassee Democrat. We're very pleased that you came to visit our newspaper today. If you want to get a behind-the-scenes look at a newspaper, one of the best places to start is a news meeting where they make the decisions on what news goes in the newspaper. News meeting should be starting about now, Peggy. Would you like to take them over to the news meeting?
Good idea. Let's go.
Bye.
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 NATO warplanes struck at Serbian positions outside Sarajevo today. It was a one-shot deal. U.S. jets were in the air, but they were not involved in the bombing. So we're looking at putting that inside the local section. I mean, inside the A section on the international page.
Megan, what did you think of today's paper?
Well, I liked how you had Godby versus Shanks, a tale of two quarterbacks with the two different stories under one headline with the big pictures.
Very nice.
Where do you get all these pictures from around the world?
We have a computer with pictures on it right outside the door. Follow me and I'll show you. Here's the computer where we get all of our pictures from all over the nation and the world, and they come into us from a satellite dish that's on the top of the roof. So we get about one a minute, and since we can't fit all of the pictures that we want in the paper, we just go to this and select the best ones or the ones that we know will fit for the stories that we're putting in the paper. So I'll do a search for Haiti since we decided in the meeting that we just came out of that we want to put the Haiti story on the front page. So here come all the pictures for Haiti that are available.
Cool.
Pretty neat, huh?
But what about the stories that go with the pictures? Where do they come from?
They're in a whole nother computer system, and there's a computer right over here that we can look for those. Come on over here. This is the newswire, where each department will come to find the stories that they need to put in the paper. Now, of course, that doesn't include the stories that our local reporters write. So every department will come here to find the stories that they need, features, editorial, opinion pieces, as well as sports.
I wrote a letter to the editor once, and they printed it too.
Really? That's great, because the editorial board loves to hear from their readers, especially the younger ones.
Hi, looking for something?
Oh, yes, I'm trying to find the comics. They're my favorite part of the paper.
Hey, don't tell anyone. They're my favorite part too, but there's an index on the front page that tells you how to find everything really fast.
Oh, yeah, I guess I forgot about that. Well, where are the people who draw the cartoons, the cartoonists? I don't see their desks.
The cartoonists don't work here. We get the comics shipped to us each week from all over the country.
Hey, check out the sports desk. Hey!
Hey, how are you doing? I'm sitting here working on a story with the Florida State quarterbacks I started earlier this morning.
Really? Did you meet the players? What'd you ask them? How'd you know what to ask them?
Well, hold on a second. I'll tell you everything that we do to get a story in the paper each morning, but I've got to hurry because I've got a 6 o'clock deadline. This story began this morning and had its roots when I first interviewed the 2 quarterbacks, and we sat down and we talked about their situation this year, how they're getting along with their new offensive coordinator, what their expectations have been so far. And then I do that interview, then I come back, I transcribe my notes, if I tape recorded or if I wrote them down, I put them in the computer, and then from there I start working on the story. That's what I'm doing right now, just putting it together. When I'm through, then I'll sit down with my editor and we'll go over the story. He may have some suggestions to make to improve the story, and from that point on, somebody else will read it again, and then we get it into the paper.
What about those pictures I've seen in the football games? Who takes those and how do they get into the paper?
Well, you'll find that right around the corner.
Oh, hi. Steve told me you'd be coming, but I didn't expect you to come through the film door. Come on over and look at how we get a picture into the paper. It's really neat. Let me give you an example from this weekend's football game. While the reporter is up in the press box writing the story, the photographer is down on the field. The photographer shoots lots of pictures, maybe even 400 to 500 during a game, so there'll be a great variety from which to choose. The photographer brings the film back to the paper, develops it, and edits it down to the ones you see in the sports section the next morning. Okay, kids, what I'm going to do is show you how we take a slide and get it into the newspaper through the use of computers. I put the slide in the film scanner, and I call up the image on the computer screen. Here's how it works. You hit the pre-scan button, you wait a few seconds, and what comes up on the screen is called a pre-scan, and that from that we'll do a crop that crops it into a specific size as represented by the diagonal box going around the picture. Then we hit the final scan, we wait a few seconds, and the picture comes up on the screen pretty much like it will look in the paper. From here, we take this picture and we do additional manipulations to it. It looks a little flat, not contrasty enough, and so I'll go into the contrast levels and make it a little darker, and you can see how it instantly changes on the screen. And I want to keep it about here because that's the end of that little line right there, and I click OK on it and it becomes a little darker. I can change the colors in it. I can make it redder or more cyan or pretty much, whatever color I like. I think it needs a little bit more red, so I added some red to it. The last thing we do is give it a caption. And I type in a caption right here, and then I'm clicking OK on that. And now I've finished with the caption, and once that is set in here, I'll export it to the proper folder, and it will be ready for the composing department to finish getting it into the newspaper.
Hi, I finally found you. Come on, it's time to go to the composing room.
Okay. Bye now, kids.
Bye.
You know, in our paper, we call that room where you worked with Phil the Star Wars room. But now we're in the composing room, and this is the typesetter.
Well, why do you call it a typesetter?
Well, that's actually from the old days when we used to have to set the type by hand. But now, this is really a big laser printer that's connected to everyone's computer in the newsroom. When Steve was finished writing his story, he gave it a signal to print out, and we get it in a long sheet. And now we have to cut and paste this and put hot wax on it and paste it up on the paste-up boards in the next room. Let's go around and see those. Okay, now here's the paste-ups for tomorrow's paper. Here's a page that has all the ads already in position.
Why do the ads get to be pasted up first? Don't people read the paper for the stories?
Well, sure, but the ads provide a service to the readers also, as well as to the businesses who purchase ads in the paper. Do you know what one copy of the paper would cost if it didn't have any advertisement in it?
What?
About $5 or $6. And you know the readers couldn't afford that for every copy of the paper.
No.
So that quarter or two that you spend for the paper covers only the cost of the newsprint, and all the other expenses are covered by the advertising.
You don't have to be a writer to work for a newspaper. There are a lot of people who have other job skills. A newspaper needs bookkeepers and accountants to keep track of all the finances. A newspaper needs many people who program computers and keep them working in the information systems department. A newspaper needs reliable workers in the circulation department to make sure subscribers are getting their paper delivered at the right place and on time. All newspapers have personnel or human resources departments to help employees with safety conditions and insurance and other benefits. And newspapers need artists and graphic designers. They work with the advertising sales staff to produce neat-looking ads for customers who buy space in the paper to advertise their products and services.
Now, this space left over here is where the news will get pasted up late tonight. The paste-up artist will follow the directions on the dummy sheet here, look for the story that belongs in this space, paste it up, and that's how we get our inside pages ready. Come around here and I'll show you how we paginate the front pages.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know if there's like auto-classified. There's not one here, but I just want to...
Now remember where you saw Phil, the photographer, working on that football photo? Well, he sent it here so it can be paginated onto a color front page.
What does paginate mean?
That means to arrange or compose a page. We paginate our front pages right here on the computer screen. And newspapers are using pagination more and more. Now let's go into the camera room and I'll show you what happens to the pages up to this point. Now, once each paste-up is complete, we have to take its picture on this big camera.
It's a camera?
Uh-huh. We have to get a negative from each one of these paste-ups so that we can make a metal press plate in the next room. Let's watch. Daryl, would you take a picture of this paste-up? Now here's the negative that comes off the camera. We take it here to the plate burner and we develop the image from this negative onto a metal press plate. And then this is what the plate looks like after it's developed. We then have to send it through a plate processor for a special coating and a plate bender so that we can bend the edges so that it fits on the press cylinder downstairs.
Look who just rolled in. This is Catherine and Charles and Megan. This is Bruce Urbeck, our press room manager.
Hi kids, how are you tonight?
Okay, the plates are brought down here to the press room ready for placement on the plate cylinders. Before they can be placed correctly on the plate cylinders, they must be bent a certain way. After all the plates for that night's paper are placed on the cylinders, the press is ready to roll. Once the press is started, it makes lots of noise, so it's important for everyone in the press room to wear hearing protection. The press is started and adjustments are made to the ink on each page. The color pages are produced using the three primary colors, blue, red, and yellow. A small portion of black is also needed to make a good color picture. The pressman adjusts each color ink to ensure the color has the right amount of ink. All four colors are printed separately and then placed on top of each other in just the right way to make the color picture come out as it's supposed to. The size of each newspaper dictates what size and how many newsprint rolls are used each night. Usually it takes about 20 one-ton rolls of newsprint to print one day's edition of our paper. Almost all of the newsprint we use is recycled. All the different size rolls of newsprint are threaded through a series of metal rollers into the folder. The folder puts all the sheets in order, then lines them up and cuts them into a newspaper size. In 1 hour, this press will produce 21,000 newspapers. The papers are then delivered on a conveyor belt that leads into the mailroom.
Now, this is the materials and distribution center. Some papers call this the mail room, but we really don't mail the papers from here. We add the inserts and we bundle them and we send them out onto the trucks for delivery.
I'm not used to being up so late. I never knew so many people were working while most of us are asleep.
That's what it takes to get the newspaper out. How did you like your behind-the-scenes tour?
Great.
I'll bet you'll look at the paper differently the next time you read it, won't you?
That's for sure.
Well, that's all for now. Hope you'll join us again for an adventure behind the scenes. Well, it's time to run. We've had lots of fun in adventures behind the scenes. So join us here again, and next time bring a friend. The good times never end in adventures behind the scenes. Adventures behind the scenes. Adventures behind the scenes. Wee, all the way home.